Okay. All right, Mubin. So this is what we did in the class last time. So we talked about ways to increase certainty in our heart. Okay. If you want me to stop, if you have questions, just tell me. Okay. So first, you guys raised a question where you said some people ask if there is a God, why isn't our dua answered? Okay, and the answer to that is Allah always answers the dua of the Muslim. Sometimes it's by giving the person what they're asking for, and sometimes it's by preventing harm from happening to that person, and instead of giving them what they're asking for. And sometimes it's recorded. You don't have to write notes. You can watch it later too. Okay? And sometimes Allah delays the dua to answer it in the hereafter. Okay? So there is no such thing as our dua is not answered. Allah knows what is best for you. If it's best for you to get what you're asking for, He will give it to you. If it's not, He will give you something else, either protect you from harm or give it to you in the hereafter. Okay? And we said some of the things that help us increase certainty and feel certain that Islam is the truth is number one, gaining knowledge. And we gave the example of the person who's blindfolded in a battlefield. How will they defend themselves against all the bullets that are coming from everywhere? So nowadays, with TikTok and social media and all of this, you always see people attacking Islam. If you do not have knowledge, you're like a blindfolded person in a battlefield. So these are some of the things that we will talk about when it comes to knowledge. So we need to have knowledge about all of these topics. But inshallah, we'll stop at the attestations of the non-Muslims today. Okay, first thing is the preservation of the Quran. We will have a whole class on that to prove that the Quran is the only book that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserved. And this is coming later in the schedule. The second thing that we learn about is the challenges of the Quran. Allah challenged the Arabs to bring a Quran like it because they were claiming, oh, this is coming from Muhammad, this is not from God. Well, Allah told them, you guys are the best Arabic speakers. And they were the best Arabic speakers in history. They were so eloquent they could make poetry on the spot, right? Arabic language, they had Arabic language fairs and all of these things, but they failed to bring a Quran like it. So Allah reduced it to 10 chapters. They failed. Then Allah reduced it to one chapter and they still failed. Okay? So if these super eloquent Arabs fail to do it, no one today or in the future will be able to do it. Okay? And the challenge hasn't been met yet, and it will never be met. The second challenge is Allah also asked us to bring a contradiction. He said, if the Quran is from anyone other than Allah, you will find a lot of contradictions in it. And no one was ever able to bring one single contradiction in the Quran. And also Allah promised that He will preserve the Quran, right? And if we compare the Quran anywhere in the world, from Egypt to China, you'll find that it's the same Quran. And if we compare the Quran that we have today to the Quran in museums, like the Topkapi Palace in Turkey, that is believed to go back to the time of Uthman, or to the manuscript that was found in the UK in Birmingham, or the manuscripts that were found in Yemen, you find that it's the same throughout history and everywhere. If you look at the Bible or any other book, you'll find that they have so many discrepancies and so many manuscripts and deleting verses, deleting chapters, adding chapters, right? Based on which year in history you're in. So before 1970, they had the verses that talked about the Trinity and the verses about so many other verses. But after 1970, they deleted these verses. And the last challenge is Allah also saying that anyone that you call upon other than Allah will never be able to create a fly. Okay? So these challenges in the Quran, they have never been met throughout history, right? And that tells us that the Quran is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He preserved it and He challenged humanity to change it or to bring a surah or to change it, or to find a contradiction or to create a flaw. Second thing we need to learn about that will help us have certainty is historical accuracy. One thing is Pharaoh versus king. If you know Prophet Musa alayhi salam, he came after Prophet Yusuf. In the time of Prophet Yusuf, it was, I think, during the Middle Kingdom of Egypt. They did not use the word king at all. Sorry, they used only the word king. They did not use the word Pharaoh at all in the time of Prophet Yusuf. But in the time of Prophet Musa, they were using the word Pharaoh for the first time. The Quran makes this distinction. Prophet Muhammad didn't know about any historical documents that would be found later or any archaeological monuments that would be found later that will prove this. So in the Quran, Allah refers to the king in the time of Prophet Yusuf as king, and in the time of Prophet Musa as Pharaoh, which has been proven recently that this is the case. But in the Bible, it doesn't make that distinction. In the Bible, it talks about both of them as Pharaoh. So the Bible got it wrong, and the Quran got it right. Okay. Another thing is Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. In the Bible, they say that the people of Babylon in his time, they worship the idols and they also worship the sun and the moon. That's it. But the Quran says they worship the idols, the sun and the moon, and a planet. Okay? The archaeologists found a monument or an artifact called the Stela of Nabonidus. And this monument shows that they actually worship the sun, the moon, and a planet, which is planet Venus. So this discovery also proves that the Quran is from Allah, but the Bible got it wrong. Okay? Is this not working? All right. Next thing is scientific accuracy. Okay? The Quran refers to the bees in the female form. When Allah is commanding the bees to collect the nectar and to produce honey, He's talking to the female bees, right? He never mentions the male bees. And science today tells us that only female bees are responsible for producing honey. But the males do not have anything to do with production of honey. Okay? Another thing that the Quran mentions about bees is that it has more than one stomach. Okay? Allah says butuniha. And also science shows us they have more than one stomach, one for the honey and one for, I think, the food and other things. Okay? And the final thing about bees is that the Quran tells us that honey has medicinal properties, and we discovered a lot of health benefits and medicinal properties in honey. Okay? There's even some hospitals in Europe that use only honey for like you go there for treatment with honey only, right? And the second scientific thing is that the Quran mentions that the universe is expanding. Okay? Before the 18th century, all the scientists believed that the universe was not expanding. Even Einstein himself thought and believed that the universe was not expanding. But after that, they started changing after they discovered that the universe is actually expanding. Now, the consensus of the scientists is that it is expanding. So the Quran got it wrong, scientists got it, sorry, the Quran got it right, but scientists got it wrong all the way up to the 18th century. And then logic, okay? Logic is also on our side, which makes us feel comfortable that we are following the truth. The atheists, for example, believe the universe came out of nothing. But can you have something out of nothing? Of course not. Can you have a phone out of nothing just popping into existence? No, right? But in Islam, we believe that something came out of something. Allah created the universe. So our belief makes sense. The atheist belief goes against logic and goes against common sense. When it comes to something like Christianity, for example, they believe Jesus is 100% God and 100% man, which is a logical contradiction. It doesn't make sense. It's like saying this circle is 100% square and 100% circle. You will never have a circle that's 100% square. Okay? So in Islam, we don't have anything that goes against logic in our beliefs. So that also gives us certainty and confidence that we're following the truth. And finally, attestations of non-Muslims. There is a verse in the University of Harvard, in the law school. They hung a verse on the wall of their library from the Quran. And they said that this is one of the best expressions about justice. Right? So imagine Muhammad ﷺ was a shepherd in the desert 1400 years ago, yet the school of Harvard, one of the best schools in the world, they're using one of his verses as the best verse about justice. And he was not even literate. He did not know how to read or write. So where did he get that? He got it from Allah. The counselor of President Richard Nixon, his name is Robert Crane, converted to Islam. He was a law professor. He converted to Islam because of the verses about inheritance in the Quran. He couldn't believe that these big laws that I studied in many books could be summarized in a few verses in the Quran in that way. So he said, this has to be from God. It cannot be from a human. And he became a Muslim. And then Michael H. Hart is a Nobel Prize winner. He's a scholar who won the Nobel Prize. He's not Muslim, he's Christian. And he wrote a book called it The Greatest 100. And he put Prophet Muhammad as the greatest man to ever live on this planet. Right? So even the attestations of the non-Muslims give us confidence that we are following the truth. So far, we talked about logic being on our side, even though it's not on the side of the atheists or the Christians or other beliefs, science being on our side, the historical accuracy and is on our side, and the challenges of the Quran that were never met. This helps us have certainty in our heart that this is coming from the creator of the universe. That is not the work of a human being, because it's impossible to be the work of a human being. Any questions?
None.
Okay.